Hello, everyone. My name is Justice. A lot of you all know me as Strawberry. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm 18. I'm HIV positive, and this is my story. So, my first encounter with HIV happened in Washington, D.C., at the high school that I was attending called Calvin Coolidge Senior High School. And it was basically my history teacher briefly speaking on the ACT UP movement. And so, like I tell everybody, I thought it was like the bubonic plague. I thought it came, it left, and that I didn't have to worry about it. And then I wasn't really involved in the gay community like that in Washington, D.C., because I was still in the closet to my parents. I was out to everybody else, but I was in the closet to my parents. So when I moved to Jacksonville, and I just saw the gay community on every block, in every building, and in every mall, I was just like, yes, ma'am, it's time to work. So I instantly came out. I became more feminine, flamboyant. I started to dress in drag and walk inside of boys' bathrooms and everything. And, I really didn't care. I had found a place where I was comfortable with who I was, and I lived my life. And then I had an encounter with two boys. You see, the thing that's different about my case is that I never really had the chance to have HIV per se. I had an AIDS diagnostics from the very beginning. I had a super virus. I was given HIV by two boys at the same time. And I had to immediately be put into intensive care. My viral load was over 50,000, and my CD4 count was about 97. And from what I had heard previously about, HIV and AIDS in particular, was that I would only have 2 years to live. So I acted up. I cut a fool. I got into fights. I didn't want to go to school because I thought that my life was over with. And then I found Jasmine's, and Jasmine stands for Jacksonville Area Sexual Minority Youth Network. And they helped me to, mold my voice and act out in a way that didn't have any negative consequences on myself. And I thank God for Jasmine's and organizations like Jasmine's. Thanks to them, today I am undetectable and my viral load is very low. I don't really know what it is. I just know that, my CD4 count is very high. My bad. Coming out about my status was one of the hardest things for me. I remember going to Jasmine's, going to programming that they held, and just sitting back and being quiet and just removing myself from everybody else, because I felt like when people looked at me that they could see my secret. And I'm not really the type of person to have secrets, because I feel like that can be used against you. So I couldn't do it. Like, it really got to me. I had disappeared for a short amount of time because I didn't want those looks. I didn't want those looks like, oh, that's that sick boy, or oh, that's that boy with AIDS, oh, he finna die slow and stuff like that. So one day Jasmine was having a support group, and I decided to free myself then. I came out to the support group and I told them that I was HIV positive, and I was expecting people to shun me off and be like, oh, ill, I don't want to talk to him. But that didn't happen. It was a very warming group. Like, there was hugs. Other people had came out to me and disclosed their statuses, and it was just a really empowering environment. And you see, one of the reasons why I had came out at Jasmine's was because I had wanted it to, spread. I had wanted people to leave the support group and go around and say, oh, well, Justice has AIDS, or Justice has HIV, he's sick, da-da-da-da-da, but that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. So I found myself having conversations where I would just openly disclose my status because I thought everybody knew, and people would be looking at me like, oh, for real? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So My mother also played a big role in me coming out about my status because she was the first person that I told, and she was also very warming, and she hugged me and we cried for like 3 days, and she told me that I wasn't going to die. And I love her. I love my grandma because she was there for me too. And I just love the fact that I'm here today because I couldn't have been. If I wouldn't have found out about my status, who knows where I'd be today. If it wasn't for Jasmine's, I probably wouldn't be right here on YouTube doing this video. So I'm very grateful for that. Before coming out about my status and even after coming out about my status, there were a lot of major, or even before I even knew anything about a status, there were some major obstacles and barriers that I had to overcome. The main one being the education system, the school systems, because like I said, you know, it was briefly touched on while I was in high school. And I feel as though if they would have touched on it a little bit more, went into a little bit more details, or, you know, just even by saying that, you know, HIV/AIDS is still real and it still impacts our youth today, would have been a lot more helpful in my life journey. This is getting hard to do. There was a case when I was at school in Jacksonville. The school was called Andrew Jackson Senior High School, where the principal had asked me to write a proposal for a list of activities to do through National AIDS Day. And this was right after I had found out about my status, but before I came out about my status. And I really didn't want to do it. I had consulted with my band director, and he had told me that, you know, if you do this, you're basically going to be the poster boy of the entire week. You're basically going to be, when the kids hear HIV, they're going to see your face. Is that what you want? And at the time, that wasn't what I wanted, because the school systems was real cutthroat about the HIV. I remember being in class with an individual, and she had stated that if there was anybody in the class with AIDS, that they needed to get out now because she didn't want to catch it. And then there was another incident where a male at the same school was like, you know, you can catch HIV by kissing somebody, by drinking after somebody. And, you know, I started crying. And I had to get out of the classroom because it really hurt me what everyone was saying. And what made me mad was that the teachers sat up there and let them continue with this ignorance. And even in you know, the most recent event, I was locked up, and while I'm sitting there in juvie, the officer is telling the youth, oh, don't eat after anybody else or else you'll catch AIDS. And I'm just sitting here like, you're really telling these kids this, and they're really going to believe you when they leave here. They're going to feel that if you eat after somebody that they can catch AIDS, and that's simply not the case. So I feel like school should really have a sex education class or something. I just feel like it's imperative. It behooves the health departments, the school systems to inform our youth on this epidemic, because it's starting to really impact the youth, especially here in Jacksonville, and a lot of people just don't know it, and I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm sick and tired of it. So one of the last things that I want to briefly touch on is something that I call ostensible privilege, because mostly in the black community, a lot of a term that's tossed around a lot is white privilege. And I'm not saying that white privilege isn't a problem or something that we need to work on, but I'm saying that we also need to look at people with ostensible privilege. And when I say ostensible privilege, I mean people with money, basically. People that have direct influences, whether they know it or not, on the impacted social economical groups, such as, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, Mariah Carey, people like that who influence youth, who influence especially LGBTQ youth, who we look up to, who some of us go as far as to dress alike, to look alike, to listen to all their songs, to buy all their CDs and everything. And we do all these things for these people, but they're not really helping us as a community. They're not really donating. They're not really speaking out on the subject, or at least not in the United States. They're not. And I just want to say that it's really sad that, we as humans, if it doesn't directly affect us, that we don't want to be bothered with it. Like, oh, I don't know anybody with AIDS. I don't have any friends with AIDS. I don't have AIDS, so I don't care about AIDS. That's really sad. The way I see it is if you're not infected, you're affected. And if you're affected, you're effected. So why not stand for a cause that infects everybody with effectiveness? That's basically all that I have to say. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All you have to do is search me by my email, youngpoetry@gmail.com, youngpoetree@gmail.com. And I love you all. Bye.